On today's programme, news a fourth vaccine could be on the way. This lunchtime, we take you to a COVID treatment ward in Scotland to find out what it's like dealing with coronavirus.
It's not pleasant, and I can still remember the first patient that passed away in here, and it was horrific.
I'm Kevin Pashby. This is the lunchtime news from Radio News Hub. First, as we get news a fourth coronavirus vaccine could be approved for use in the UK within weeks, we've had special access to a COVID treatment ward in Scotland. Andy Seddon reports for the lunchtime news.
For weeks now, we've been hearing just how overstretched the NHS is, how packed hospital wards are, and how doctors and nurses are dealing with a tremendous workload. It's relentless. Today, we can take you inside the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Paisley. Claire McPhee is a nurse working on the front line.
It's not pleasant. And the issue with the deaths, and this was probably the first thing that really hit us the hardest down here in AMU, and I can still remember the first patient that passed away in here, and it was horrific because there was no the relatives weren't allowed to come in.
More than 3,000 people were admitted to hospitals in the UK yesterday. Currently, there are 36,931 people laying in a hospital bed with coronavirus right now. Just under 4,000 of them are on ventilation. This man told us his story of how he ended up on a hospital ward.
I was constantly non-going out, totally non-going out, everything at the front door. On New Year's Day, the one time that they said, you can relax it a bit, but perhaps you shouldn't. I did. And I went into my neighbours.
The pressure on the hospital wards is intense. Today, though, a glimmer of more hope appeared on the horizon as we hear how trials of the Novavax jab suggest it's 89% effective in preventing coronavirus. It means it could just be weeks away from being given the green light to use. The jab's been tested in UK clinical trials with more than 15,000 people taking part, and it'll be made here in the UK too, on Teesside. Kate Bingham is chair of the UK Vaccine Task Force.
It's a fantastic result. Not only have we trialled the vaccine to show that it's safe and effective, but we're also making it too. So we'll be able to save lives in the UK.
Let's take a look at some other stories in the news. The Welsh First Minister's to announce at least another 3 weeks of lockdown for Wales. Mark Drakeford is thought to be planning for pupils to start returning to schools, though, after the February half-term, providing case rates continue to fall. Rates of coronavirus across Wales have fallen below 200 cases per 100,000 people for the first time since early November. Investigations continue into the murder of a 15-year-old boy in Handsworth in Birmingham. Keon Lincoln died after being attacked in broad daylight. Detective Chief Inspector Alistair Arenkas says he's proud of the local community and the work of his officers.
We're dealing with a real volume of information, but it's gathering a real pace, and I'm very pleased and very proud, in fact, of the engagement from the community and the tremendous work that's being done by officers.
The Chinese government says it will no longer recognise the British national overseas passport used by people from Hong Kong to get UK residency. It says around 300,000 people are expected to leave there for Britain using a new visa route which opens on Sunday. The move was made in the wake of a new Chinese national security law imposed on Hong Kong last year. The RSPCA says it's exploring the transfer of its role prosecuting animal abusers to the Crown Prosecution Service so it can focus on preventing cruelty. The organisation anticipates increased pressure on its prosecution service, with tougher sentences for attacks on animals expected to come into force in England and Wales later this year. New annual figures show Bet365 founder Denise Coates was the country's largest taxpayer for the second year running. The betting website's joint chief executive and her family are worth £7.2 billion and had a tax liability of £573 million last year. Now, people across the UK believe they're being unfairly dismissed from their job because of personal life choices they're making. Paul Riley can tell us more.
1 in 6 of the workers that we had contacted had said they felt that they had been unfairly selected because they'd been a parent. In addition to that, we had around 1 in 10 who believed that they'd been selected because they were pregnant or their bosses believed they were about to start a family.
That's Ruby Dinsmore, an employment lawyer for Slater and Gordon. The firm carried out a survey of more than 1,000 people across the country. Well, she believes these figures show there is a sense of bias in the workplace, and the pandemic has made it worse.
This has actually existed for a long time. The pandemic, I guess, has just brought it to the fore. I mean, working mothers have faced bias in the workplace long before the pandemic, and the working situation that the pandemic has set out has actually made things worse and more visible.
The government is now being urged to do everything possible to stop mass unemployment. The TUC today has reminded ministers about their promise to level up Britain.
Still to come on the lunchtime news from Radio News Hub. We'll have your latest business news and the sports on its way. In showbiz, we'll tell you who signed up for the Great Celebrity Bake Off for Stand Up to Cancer.
Buying solar panels sounded like a good idea, but the reality is they're now costing you money. If you bought your panels in the past 6 years with a loan from Barclays, Shawbrook, Creation or Econo, and they failed to live up to expectations, then you may have a case for thousands of pounds in compensation. At Solar Claims UK, many clients receive their settlement within 4 weeks. So text SOLAR to 60777. Text SOLAR to 60777 now. You don't need a claims management company to make a claim, and if unsuccessful, you can refer it free to the Financial Ombudsman.
A reminder of the top stories on the lunchtime news from Radio News Hub. We tested it in the UK and we're making it in the UK. That's the message from the chair of the UK's Vaccines Task Force about a fourth vaccine that could be approved soon. On to business news. An online fashion retailer, Boohoo's, confirmed it's in exclusive talks with administrators of Sir Philip Green's Arcadia to buy several brands. Boohoo say it's looking at acquiring the Dorothy Perkins and Wallace brands as well as parts of Burton. It comes after ASOS revealed it was in exclusive talks with Arcadia's administrators to buy Topshop, Topman and Miss Selfridge. New research suggests almost 9 out of 10 businesses aren't testing workers for coronavirus. The CBI say its study shows more government support is needed as workplace testing is key to paving the way for safe reopening of the economy. A survey of over 600 firms revealed lack of expertise, unclear guidance and operational issues as some of the main barriers to workplace testing. The number of new homes being registered to be constructed across the UK fell by 23% last year to reach an 8-year low. The National Building Council says just over 123,000 new homes were registered in 2020, compared with 160,000 the year before. Carl Hart leads on the sports desk this lunchtime.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, it's not good news if you're a Tottenham fan or even an England supporter, because Spurs and England striker Harry Kane is injured again. He was forced off at half-time after picking up a knock in the 3-1 defeat to Liverpool last night. His boss, Jose Mourinho, gave a quick update after the game.
For Harry to leave a game when he wants to play always, and with the team losing, for Harry to come out is not a nothing injury, is an injury. For how long, I cannot tell you, I don't know. We have to wait and see.
Well, Jurgen Klopp, meanwhile, revealed he might be forced to bring in a new defender after Joel Matip also developed an injury. Bournemouth have signed Ben Pearson from Championship rivals Preston, and hopes for Cheltenham's Trials Day meeting on Saturday are hanging in the balance. There is still standing water on the track and fences will have to be bypassed if the card does go ahead. We're expecting an inspection around about 2 o'clock this afternoon, so we'll keep you posted on that. Check out our social media at Radio News Hub on Twitter. And there you go, Kevin, you're up to date with the sport.
Thanks, Carl. Time for showbiz news. James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley and Stacey Dooley are among 20 celebs who've signed up for the Great Celebrity Bake Off for Stand Up to Cancer. Each episode will see 4 of them battling out over 3 rounds, the signature, technical and showstopper, as they mix it up to be crowned star baker. Sales of t-shirts inspired by a catchphrase from the hit Channel 4 TV show It's a Sin have raised over £20,000 for an HIV charity. The series, created by Russell T Davies, is set in London during the HIV/AIDS crisis of the 80s. La, the single note sung by the characters to greet each other, has been printed on t-shirts, with some cash from each sale going to the Terence Higgins Trust. And Liam Gallagher scored the top-selling single on vinyl in 2020. The former Oasis singer's festive track All You're Dreaming Of beat Joy Division's Love Will Tear Us Apart to the honour. The weather for today, mainly dry for much of the UK, showers in the south and east. We might even get some sunshine. This has been the Lunchtime News from Radio News Hub with me, Kevin Pashby. You can find plenty more on the stories we're covering today at radionewshub.com.